happy Wednesday morning, yes, morning to you. It's Loudoun United against Memphis 901 on camp day here at Segra Field. Alongside the former German pro Devin Kerr, I'm Joe Malfa. It's a great day for these kids to take in some great USL Championship action. So take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. And Devin, right now in the East, Memphis is sinking. They were near the top. Now they've fallen below that home playoff game line, hoping to get back on track against a struggling Loudoun side.
This is simple. You've got to find a way to take advantage of games such as this. What do I mean for both of these squads? You've struggled. It's the summer, but it's off schedule, right? It's an idea that no matter what's going on, you can find a way to push forward. Why not do it on the road? Why not at 11 a.m. and it's camp day?
And Loudoun United, after starting the season more positively than they have in years past, they've fallen back into some of the same habits and struggles that have plagued them in years past.
You have to understand, though, that for Loudoun United and Ryan Martin, their manager, they are experiencing so many different changes that aren't necessarily within the friendly confines of 90 minutes. It's a new ownership group. There's a new pecking order, right? Ryan Martin used to have to take a lot of information from DC United and incorporate it in. He's got the opportunity now to try and coax this on his own. Then you got to change in the roster. To mold all of that together immediately is one thing. To sustain it long term, much more difficult. But when you have a guy like Zach Ryan at the top in the 9 spot, he's the type of player that can push some of these younger, inexperienced guys beneath him a step further. Coming out of Stanford, you're a Red Bull homegrown. You've experienced top-flight football. You've had repetitions within USL Championship before. The leading goal scorers with 9 and 20. Can they get him going? Can he get help from the supporting cast around him?
That's why he's a Betfred player to watch. And on the other side, Memphis, at one point again, they had catapulted near the top of the Eastern Conference, but they're winless in their last 6 games.
It's similar for them, where the influx of matches, Stephen Glass coming in, taking over, didn't necessarily know what the group was going to look like because they did retain a lot of pieces, but they lost some important ones. You didn't get Philip Goodrum going. There was that whole debacle. Did he want in? Did he want out? You've got players underneath, though, in Aaron Malloy and Jeremy Kelly that are a really high level. Phoenix embarrassed them. They're injured. They're trying to get back on track. This team has the ability to be one of the tops in the East. Can they do it? If I've got a guy like Rodrigo da Costa, my answer would be yes. Since coming over from Tulsa, it's been incredible. He's got 5 goals and 3 assists and 11 appearances. It's a different look in the sense that he plays as an out-and-out 9 by himself, but he's so good about dropping down and making others around him great. Again, this team has the ability. Do they have it in the next 90 minutes? That'll be the question.
Loudoun head coach Ryan Martin joked with us this week that he wants to make sure they score first today so the kids in attendance know who to cheer for. It's camp day. It's 11 a.m. action here in USL Championship, and it's next. Loudoun United against Memphis 901 right here on ESPN+.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
Let's take a look at this morning's starting 11s. On this side, Ryan Martin. It's a unique lineup that he has to send out there because of some players who are missing or not as available as he would have liked.
He's got 5 changes within it, but really what piques my interest a little bit here is Aiden Rocha coming to the left back spot. I also look to the middle and Abdul Kawanda. What you want to recognize here is the physicality aspect of his play and second chance balls. Loudoun United are going to feel like today there's going to be a lot of opportunities to pick up the scraps within the midfield and then usher things forward, going to Zach Ryan, that goal-scoring threat up top in the 9 position. Good representation out on the wings. Memphis 901 FC and Stephen Glass, he's made quite a few changes himself. Kelly back into the midfield next to his running mate Aaron Malloy. Those two control the tempo better than anybody in the USL Championship. You would imagine that this is going to be Leston Paul bumped up in front of them, but they can share that load centrally. It's going to rely on Knight Pickering and Luis Fernando to stretch this game. I also look at a back line that has to start to become mistake-free. They've been prone to get themselves into trouble. Then again, it's on their own volition, haven't necessarily been exploited by opposition.
First start of the season for Leston Paul. Made 27 of them last year. Now back into the mix. What can he bring to the equation for his struggling Memphis side, winless in its last 6? Hoping to rebound today against a Loudoun side, winless in its last 4. Little coffee, little orange juice, some eggs, and some USL Championship soccer. Part of a great balanced breakfast. Good morning to you all. It's Devin Kerr and Joe Malfa here from Segra Field. You always want a positive start. It goes without saying for any coach in any league, but Ryan Martin did uniquely say, on a day like this, you don't necessarily know how much the kids in attendance for camp day know about both of these teams, and they're going to root for whichever team does something cool first. So he wants to make sure it's Loudoun who does something cool first to get these kids on their side. Otherwise, it might just start to feel like a road game, and maybe here, pressure from Morris. Giving away in the midfield. Quick turn, it's Ryan looking through for Zane. Here's Abdul Zane. Really heavy pressure in the first minute from Loudoun. They got the message from Ryan Martin.
Second chance balls are what we talked about coming out of the midfield for Abdul Zane. Look at the deflection right in his path and smartly just extends this forward. Zach Ryan comes down in. As much as we talk about Zach Ryan in the 9 spot and being able to go to goal, let's see how he works off everybody else. He's used to working in a double striker system. As he comes in, that relies more on others around him. Guys like Jake Boris, guys like Abdul Zane. You want Ryan to be the point man up top, but he's so good in the interchangeability, you've got to find a way to work in other areas too.
We get unique answers from coaches all the time. It's maybe the first and last time I think we'll ever hear a coach saying you have to score first to make sure you get the kids in the stands on your side.
Well, you're talking about, I mean, it's 11 a.m. You're talking about bagels and orange juice and breakfast accoutrement. I would first make the argument that it's brunch anyway, yet alone for all my little friends in the background that you're hearing, it's camp day. These kids are well on their way to lunchtime, my friend. They've been up since 7 and going.
Jace Clark, not too much older than those kids in the stands. The 18-year-old gets the throw into play. We'll do it again, this time further up the field. Third start of the year for Jace Clark. The appearance overall. A lot of players who have featured through the middle portion of this season for Loudoun weren't necessarily a part of the equation early in the year. Some injuries, some players recalled from DC United on loan. Have forced Ryan Martin to get creative. Garay lost it. Racing ahead, it is not kept in by Knight Pickering. With that, we'll take a look at today's keys to the game, brought to you by Country Buick GMC of Leesburg.
Sustainability is just going to come down to Loudoun United, their ability to replicate their game plan. There's no question whatsoever that these young men are certainly talented. The issue for them is trying to find a way to do that over a 90-minute span. Now, you could make that an argument for a bunch of different teams, but Loudoun are blips on the radar, and you have to condense that into one match to find success, especially against 901 FC. It's the Maestros in the middle for Memphis 901 and Stephen Glass.
Morris cutting in, Morris, corner coming.
That's going to come in the form of an argument for both possession moving forward as well as the defensive shape, and Aaron Malloy and Jeremy Kelly. As they lose that shape, watch how everything opens up on the inside. That puts more pressure on guys like Carson Vomsteeg and Lucas Turchi. You have to step up into that space. You make them come narrow, you make them come deep, all of a sudden you're Loudoun and you're dictating on your own terms. Abdul
Zane blocked. Carson Vomsteeg got in the way of it. An anchor last year for Loudoun Vomsteeg, 21 starts at center back. On the Memphis side, returns to his former stomping grounds. Luis Fernando slows it down. These teams met back in March in Memphis, a 3-1 win on that night for Loudoun. Zach Ryan netted 2 of his 9 goals on the season. Akeem Ward. Very fast pace to begin this one. Can't imagine this was easy on the players. All your normal routines that you'd go through for an evening game. Instead of maybe starting at, what, 2 p.m., you're starting them at 5, 6 a.m., depending on how you back time things.
I'm having flashbacks to college. You got to understand, though, that I don't want to say in this day and age, but certainly with all the sports science that's available to everybody, the regularity of which your routine is in is much more restricted in the best of ways to get the best out of an athlete, both physically and mentally in this day and age. So you're finding a way that, okay, where are the times that we're going to find peak performances? How do we get them there? Nutrition, certainly at the top end of that argument, and all of a sudden you have to switch it. Your training that would have been night before is now going to be the day before, which affects you backlog everything for a couple of days in a row. You're not having that pregame meal at 4:30 for dinner and then a snack afterwards. All of a sudden, the timing of which it's going in, the actual substance changes. Not the easiest thing to handle.
Ryan Martin delegated coffee duties, bagel duties, and donut hole duties among his staff. He did say the donut holes, they sneak when the nutritionists are not paying attention. He took responsibility himself for the coffee. He says he's a coffee snob. Maybe that's what he's always writing in his notebook down on the sideline.
You got a favorite donut hole, assuming that we are visiting said establishment?
Chocolate glazed.
Yeah,
every time.
I'm with you.
Every
Secondary?
Time. Secondary, it's limited, but pumpkin. Over the top, Zane, and he's offside. You only get that a couple months of the year, but the pumpkin donut holes.
Well, that shows your affection for the other flavors, that you're just not even willing to address one that's there 12 months out of the year.
Yeah, this isn't just an interrogation to me. You got to offer up your own as well. Luis Fernando cutting in from the right wing, slots it through, and it's just wide. Jeremy Kelly didn't miss by much. Sent Hugo Farrell scurrying toward his far post.
A couple of players in the USL Championship that in one-on-one situations you just don't want to match up against, and for me it's Luis Fernando. Because of the opportunities that he provides for others around him. Jeremy Kelly, that 8 pivot, good job stepping into the top of the box, but it's the recognition by Luis Fernando. The second that he gets Aiden Roach at the left back spot to square his hips up, he has the decision. Do I want to take advantage and use my speed to get to the byline and then try and cut it back across? Or with that little peek over the shoulder, he recognizes all the space at the top of the 18. The little cut back in and a beautiful ball played in.
Hugo Farrell settles. Sometimes just getting shots on net is a strategy for a team, and these are 2 goalkeepers you want to test at either end today. Statistically, Hugo Farrell, Drew Romig struggling this year, both with goals against averages above 2, both with save percentages below 50%. Neither the #1 option for either of these teams in goal. Rome clears this one away. Second option behind Bill Hamid, and Hugo Farrell, the second option behind Dane Jackman most of the season. Here's Kelly.
Notice the positional setup here for 901 FC. Within the midfield, they've taken Jeremy Kelly, and he's not playing as an out-and-out winger, though he does have experience in that situation. As good as he's been, you don't want to remove him from the conversation centrally in its entirety. But as advanced as you can get a key Mort up in the attack, Kelly is giving you that balance where I'm going to skirt the outside and help stretch this shape overall from Loudoun United, but I'm still in contact with Leston Paul and Aaron Malloy in the midfield. That allows Knight Pickering to come higher. He's going to play off the left shoulder. So the burden, in the best of ways, on this left flank comes to both Pickering and Kelly, though neither one are really fully extended.
Goal scoring has still been there for Memphis, but it's been a little bit different this year compared to last year without Philip Goodrum. He wasn't scoring for Memphis before the swap happened with Tulsa. Has been scoring like crazy since for Tulsa, as they were just on a lengthy winning streak. It's come from a variety of sources for Memphis this year. 14 different players have at least one goal on their ledger in 2023. And that adds up for 37 in all, second in USL Championship. Cole Turner put it off the back of Fernando. Leston Paul gets there, and Malloy, and it's brought back for the foul on Leston Paul. Ryan Martin didn't mince words. He called Aaron Malloy the best player in USL Championship. We had a chance to pick his brain about scouting for this Memphis 901 side.
He's super consistent on the ball. Level of efficiency that he brings to the overall disposition of a team that they want to be on the ball. They want to possess. Stephen Glass will certainly not hide the fact that they need to control games. Now, they certainly feel like they can attack and do it in other fashions, but if it's Leston Paul, if it's certainly the collaborative effort of Jeremy Kelly and Aaron Malloy paired together. Aaron Malloy, deep-lying fashion, set-piece opportunities, the chance creator that, you know, some of his profile reminds me a little bit of Cam Lindley, who can spring that 30, 40-yard ball up over the top, and whether it's direct at the center backs or into wide areas, the ability to just understand the touch pass that has to be at that moment in that time.
Washington starts it from the back for Cole Turner. 8th start of the season for Cole Turner. Signed back in January, has missed some time this year injured. He was one of the guys that Martin's crew really missed during that middle swoon of the season after they started so hot and were above the playoff line. Came back down to earth a little bit. Some injuries, some players were called by DC United. Cole Turner, one of the ones he missed the most. Settled in space by Jace Clark. To the corner, Clark. Hakeem Ward got in the way. Ward through the middle for Malloy. Has trouble handling it, pressured by Kawanda. Able to get it out of harm's way in the end. It's a couple of times that we've seen touches not as crisp as usual from Malloy, where it's popped up on him. He's nearly given it away in the first dozen minutes. Leston Paul. Here's not one for Leston Paul you don't see. His first start of the year. The captain's armband once again, just 57 minutes and 5 appearances this season coming in.
A reminder I mentioned to you coming in that the issue for 901 FC hasn't necessarily been that they've been that poor. It's they've coughed up so many mistakes, right? So you can go out and look, past 2 matches, you go up 2-0, and then all of a sudden you drop 4 spots. That just can't happen. You can't go out, be up in a 2-0 lead, and then conceding is one thing. Allowing 4 to hit the back of your net is a whole nother conversation. But when you watch the tape, it's not like they're getting broken down or played off the park. It's just a ton of mistakes that start to have this waterfall effect, and the overall confidence begins to lack. It's something, and I mentioned that they got embarrassed by Phoenix Rising. That is the word to use. It was on July 1st. It was a 6-0 loss on national television. They followed it up just 6 days later, playing San Antonio. This time they go back to AutoZone Park, and it's a 4-0 loss. The stretch overall has just been really difficult. They've given up a ton of goals. They're not really scoring that much. That's why leading in, I said that if you can get Aaron Malloy and Jeremy Kelly, obviously Leston Paul's involved in this argument too, but really Kelly and Malloy, if you can get those two to control everything around them, because that's one of the biggest assets of this team, that starts to solidify all of these little holes that you have, and you Band-Aid it, right? Once you start to Band-Aid, the wounds start to heal. You start to have that belief that, okay, we know that we can go beat any team that we want. It also doesn't hurt that they're better on the road statistically than they are at home. 16 points through 10 games, 15 through 11. Now, they haven't won a match since June 11th. They did it against Louisville. Bested Louisville twice this season, by the way. Not many teams can say that. But to get back on track, you got to go away from home. It's still nice to have in your back pocket the fact that you're pretty well suited to do it away from the friendly confines of AutoZone Park.
And it seemed like they were going to get right back on track after those 2 wallopings at the hands of Phoenix and San Antonio. You go 1-1 against Oakland and 1-1 against Sacramento back-to-back. 2 of the top 4 or 5 teams right now in the Western Conference, including the top team in Sacramento. It seemed like they'd come out of that skid and went right back to it with those last 2 that you mentioned, giving up the 4 spots.
Just to put a bow on it, that rush that we saw at the beginning of this match from Loudoun United, if the overall quality is a bit higher, it's 1, maybe 2-0. They've run into situations like that, where those moments where maybe they didn't start the game correctly, or there's that lull within a game where they have conceded those. So it could be a 1 or 2-0 game. Instead, 16 minutes in, they've worked themselves back in nicely. They've slowed the game down, allowed themselves to retain possession. Haven't produced a ton in the final third, but slowly but surely winning the positional battle, moving their way higher, and getting back into the match.
No foul, says Thomas Snyder. And all the way back for Drew Romig. Now, we're not supposed to necessarily root for things and remain impartial sitting in our positions, but I think we could root for goals today. The last thing these kids want on camp day is a 0-0 draw. So at some point, you're hoping somebody's going through and pouring a couple in. Maybe 10, 12 years from now, these camp kids will appreciate your tactical breakdowns and go ahead of the curve with you. Right now, they don't care. They want some goals flying both ends. Malloy, Colin Turner, taken by DaCosta. And here's Malloy in this position where he can create. Malloy, laid off by Pickering for Leston Paul. Through from Malloy, couldn't get a shot off. Just felt like that whole attack was happening in slow motion. Buckmaster. Lucas Turchi. Sending it long to Luis Fernando. Kept it in. Fernando end line. Driven ball over everybody. And out for a goal kick. Select, the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Aiden Rocha looking for Morris, who's cleaned out from behind. Justin Paul trying to argue he got the ball, but got a fair bit of the body as well. Taken quickly over the top. Rocha rolls it back for Morris. Kawanda was waiting for it, calling for it. They didn't make it there. Now DaCosta tried to lead the transition and put it on a platter for Hugo Farreau instead. Learman, Clark couldn't keep it in. Sloppy from both teams. You don't want the early start to be the catch-all excuse for both teams, but how much of the sloppiness can be attributed to that? It's just human nature, I feel like, at 11 a.m. out of your routines. I mean, this is the first time today that I've woken up before 8 a.m. in a long time myself.
Say, let's be clear, your routine's a little bit different than mine. It certainly affects your routine. I would also say that in terms of overall training, most of these squads are training right around 9 a.m. Now, depending on the temperature and geographic location, that can be tweaked both positively and negatively on either side of that argument. But if you're out, listen, you're up 6:37, you've got a snack, you get to the training facility 7:30, 8 o'clock. You know, you're there an hour and a half early. Everybody's routine is different. You might be lifting before going in. Other guys like to lift after training. Nutrition to me is one that if your body's not used to something, I never ate before early lifts. We trained in the evening when I was in Germany. So we would get up, I would have a snack, go lift. By snack, I mean like a loaded Gatorade or something. So that could be one of it. Also the heat. I mean, you are in the dead of summer right now with crazy temperatures all across America. Big difference of playing a game at 11 a.m. compared to what most of these guys are used to in the nighttime fixtures of a 7 or 7:30 start time. And that even depends on the time zone that you're in. I mean, that game that we talked about where Memphis really struggled in the match against Phoenix, in their brain, they're kicking off at 11 o'clock Eastern. That's an 8 o'clock local for Phoenix. So things change drastically in all of these situations.
Not often you can say in a season, you've got an 11 Eastern AM and PM kickoff for your team. Memphis could say it this year.
Yeah. And when you're going through a stretch such as this where it's difficult to find a positive result, that seed of doubt is a little bit easier to be planted in your mind. You know, the war of attrition that everybody talks about isn't just the physical side of things, it's the mental where, look, you go 4 games winless, you go 6 games winless, 10 between the two. A mistake early on and you think, here we go again. And you lose confidence within yourself, the team loses shape. All of a sudden, all those repetitions you had midweek where you felt like, okay, maybe we're getting back to square one, they start to escape you and you start to follow down the same rabbit hole that has really put you in this situation to begin with.
It's almost been a bit of an epidemic around the USL Championship this year. A lot of streakiness. A couple of teams have been consistent, Sacramento chief among them, but El Paso and Memphis in similar boats where they started the year with lengthy winless runs, had a dozen unbeaten in the middle, and it's been winless ever since again. San Antonio had a couple of stretches like that. Very up and down. Well, this Memphis team has been right and hot. They've been among the best in the league. Just haven't been that way now for a month, almost to the day. July 1st, that loss against Phoenix Rising 6-0 to snap their streak. Clark took it off the chin. Taken back by Knight Pickering. Pickering runs ahead, pushing forward for DaCosta. Cut off by Washington. Jeremy Garay has done well this year, and adjusting to permanently being with Loudoun as opposed to on that proverbial bus back and forth between Loudoun and DC, as he was the last couple of years. And Martin, that Garay had his feet more firmly planted on the ground this year and been better for it in the young players' development. Malloy. Carson Vomsteeg looks long. 2 shots for both teams at this point. Magic team with a shot on target. Possession 60-40 in Loudoun's favor. Morris, look at a little cut on his knee. Not enough to send him over to the sideline and get it repaired, enough where he just had to pull a sock over it before Thomas Snyder gave him the okay to continue.
Doritos?
Brunch, she said. Hey, it's not necessarily breakfast time anymore.
They're ahead of the curve. They know exactly what they're doing. Sandwich, chips.
But the Doritos in the sandwich.
Doritos in the sandwich, absolutely. And this is one of the luxuries you get if you're Ryan Martin. The inversion of Aiden Rocha, great ball up over the top. What an asset Aiden Rocha is coming out of Georgetown University. And Brian Weiss, what he's capable. You play him in the 6, he's comfortable down underneath by himself or squared up next to someone like Jeremy Garay, outside back position. He's just competitive. You know, he understands that he's trained as an outside right back, but because of his versatility, they were forced to, at the collegiate level, to bump him up in and start to cover ground in there. Really the biggest turnaround for him was the 2021 run by a Georgetown Hoyas team that made it all the way to the College Cup. 19, he was part of the cup-winning team, but the 21 team that got back just instilled a level of confidence for Aiden Rocha that has really helped progress him at the professional level.
23rd appearance, 19th start of the season here today. 60th pick by DC United in the draft. Ended up signing with Loudoun. Sent his weight on the left side. Threw it out for a throw. All the way back for Washington. It's Learman, another one you saw a lot of in college. Learman, a standout at Pitt last year. Young talent on this Loudoun side. Coming into the year, the message from Ryan Martin in building this team was finding a lot of young, hungry pros who were cast-offs maybe elsewhere. That fits for Learman, drafted in 2022 by Chicago, elected to go back to college instead, and Loudoun the beneficiaries of bringing him in. Tonight Pickering, early ball in, settled by DaCosta, turned him away from goal. Malloy. Hakeem Ward. Kelly feeds Ward. Learman to confront him. And corner conceded. First of the match coming now for Memphis. Malloy ventures out to take it, 5 assists on the season. Coming off a year in 2022, All-League first team, whips in this corner, flicked away by Learman. Abdul Zane gets there. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship action on ESPN+, home of the USL La Liga, Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today at plus.espn.com. Romig untested so far to face a shot on goal. In some ways, Memphis has been bailed out by the performances of teams ahead of them in the table during this difficult stretch they've had. Ahead by Buckmaster. And one back by Loudoun. While they've been 6 winless, Louisville sits a point ahead. They've lost 3 of the last 5. Tampa Bay, a couple spots ahead as this one should have listed a card. It does, given to Buckmaster. Easy call here on the yellow card. In transition, Turner brought down. You go further ahead than Louisville. Tampa Bay in the last 5 games, a loss and a draw. Charleston, 2 draws in the last 5. Pittsburgh, 2 losses in the last 5. So while they've been stumbling Memphis, teams in front of them have done them a favor of keeping things relatively close. They could have been a lot worse. They could have fallen a lot further out of contention than they have.
And one would also make the argument that behind them, Birmingham Legion and FC Tulsa have awoken from their slumber. That was the Open Cup for Birmingham Legion, and really just finding the overall footing under first-year head coach Blair Gavin and Sam Dorr, who've done such a good job of constructing that roster. It's tightening for sure. Certainly not the same congestion that we see in the Western Conference of the USL Championship, that you blink and you end up at the bottom of the table. I mean, that's how tight it is over there. RGV currently in 11th at 27 points, is only 7 points off 3rd. If you look at the same variation in the East, 3rd, Tampa Bay Rowdies, 11th, Loudoun, 18 points. 3 games or 6 games? Which mountain you want to climb?
A little bit different. Everybody except Vegas in the West is actually alive right now at this point in the season. It's been a different story for Loudoun, though. While they've been struggling, losing 3 of the last 4 with a draw mixed in there as well. Miami has woken up 3 wins in the last 5. Detroit has woken up 2 wins, 2 draws in the last 5. India winning 2 draws in the last 5. All of a sudden, the Loudoun side that was above that playoff line in 8th just a couple of weeks ago, now they're below it, and they've also played 3 more games than Indy, 2 more than Miami, 1 more than Detroit. So they're giving up games, and they've fallen.
What was the word that we used for Loudoun coming in, though? Sustainability. Take that and apply it to whether it's Miami, Detroit, Memphis, Loudoun. We can just use those 4, even Indy. 2 out of the 5. Loudoun and Memphis start really strong and have faded off. The other 3 kind of slowly easing their way into the season, and yet they're all primarily right where they, primarily in the same situation, right? Yeah, I get it. The points are different. Loudoun is 10 points behind Memphis, but you've got about a third of the way this season to go. A couple of these teams are starting to get the momentum. If you're Indy, right? If you're Detroit, you have the idea that, okay, we can chase all these teams down in front of us where everybody else is grasping for straws, trying to figure out how to hold on, at least at this point in time.
That's why these 3 points hanging in the balance today are so massive for both of these teams. It doesn't look like either side wants to go up and snatch it so far. Neither side yet with a shot on target. Right, Pickering into the area. And his cross blocked. Malloy comes in. Pickering takes it back. Tried to snake it through. We're going to see an early substitution here. Remember, Morris went down a couple moments ago, and he's not able to continue. Replaced by Tommy Williamson. So brought to you by Segra.
Loudoun United substitution in the 33rd minute. Now exiting the match, number 3, Jake Morris. Now entering the match, number 9, Tommy Williamson.
Tommy Williamson tied for 2nd on the team with 4 goals this season. Here he is. And this might change a lot to the Loudoun shape as well. Williamson has typically been up there as a striker. Footwork from Fernando. Back for Leston Paul.
I wouldn't necessarily anticipate a shape change at this point in time, just because Loudoun want to make sure that anything coming down Route 1 right through the spine of this field is removed from argument. They're trying to push it to the outside, and for the most part have been able to do that. What would change is Abdul Zane goes over to the left flank, Tommy Williamson comes to the right, and that'll keep Cole Turner just down underneath. Again, Knight Pickering, Jeremy Kelly struggling to find any sort of space to operate within underneath Rodrigo da Costa. They've switched a couple of times. You still haven't gotten anybody on a regular basis make a real case for being out on that left flank. We thought Akeem Ward would push a little bit higher, but that goes back to guys like Jace Clark and Zane pushing the tempo on the right flank, making him more reserved on the defensive front.
Here's the Akeem Ward. Sneaking further up the field. Bottom left of your screen there for a moment. Akeem Ward. To the right side for Buckmaster. Malloy. Turchi. Trying to force it through, and well read by Clark, but it falls for Ward. Just as soon as he wanted to take it up that wing. Confronted by Williamson and recycled through Turchi. Malloy up the right side, Luis Fernando. One of the longer snaps of possession we've seen here from Memphis. .45 touches on the ball through 35 minutes for Malloy. Feels like a lot funneling through him in the midfield. This is typical. Less than Paul. I wonder how long it takes him to feel fully back up to speed. And just 57 minutes in his 5 appearances off the bench before he was able to make his first start of the season here this morning. 27 starts and 7 assists last year for Leston Paul. Carving ball to the midfield. And a free kick on the way for Loudoun.
It looked like maybe he took this off his knee. This is a brutal challenge by Lucas Turchi coming off the back line, and the first one prior, not necessarily the second one. The foul's actually put on Zach Ryan. The contact comes up through on Kawanda with Aaron Malloy. Loudoun sitting, holding. Once they retain, the main issue, you're happy right now if you're Ryan Martin in that aspect of it defensively, that you aren't really coughing up a lot of opportunities. The problem is there's not really a ton of chances going the other way.
Here's Zach Ryan. That's the man you want with the ball at his feet in this portion of the field. Oh, just as quickly. It's all the way back now. Garay. Learman. Next, Washington forced to work it all the way back to Hugo Farreau. 30 seconds apart, it was Zach Ryan looking like he was lining up a shot just outside the area. All the way back to Hugo Farreau. It's been that kind of game through 37 minutes. Leston Paul, to no one in particular. Combined expected goals right now, 0.12.
Surprised it's that high. Respectfully. Wake up, boys.
Pickering. Working on Jace Clark. Battle of 2 18-year-olds, and Clark comes away with it.
I like what we've seen out of Jace Clark so far within this match, really over the season, but certainly 39 minutes in.
Here's Ryan with Williamson. A turn by Tommy Williamson. He's taken down. Play on, says Thomas Snyder. Cole Turner. Ryan confronted by Malloy. And this one is called a foul. Just outside the area, free kick on the way for Loudoun.
You could actually go all the way back to that cut in by Thomas Williamson. Well read by Tommy. To challenge the negative space. All of a sudden, you've got to switch your hips if you're Lucas Turchi. That spin right there, beautifully done That's a foul.
100%.
I mean, 100% it's a foul. You come in from behind the player, literally step in front of him, and you still do it from a negative position. But then watch both strikers. Tommy Williamson bumps up high next to Zach Ryan. Ryan into the pocket. It collapses the middle. It allows Aiden Rocha to get up high. And all of a sudden, 19 yards out. And an excellent opportunity for your marksman to go after the goalkeeper and Drew Romick.
9 goals on the season for Zach Ryan. This would be a heck of a way to get number 10. And give the kids here on camp day something to cheer about. 40 minutes in to what has otherwise been a sleepy start to the morning. Whistle from Thomas Snyder. Deep breath from Zach Ryan. Ryan right into the wall. Rebound blocked again by the wall. Knight Pickering lunged at it, breaking from the wall. And carried on. Not a shot on target still. Some space for Kawanda. Well done by Akeem Ward. A little turf burn on the knee because of it, but a well-timed challenge. Williamson, another nice turn from Williamson, forcing his way through. Tommy Williamson still on the run. Last moment, the intervention comes from Rodrigo da Costa, of all people, working back. Now it's Clark into the chest of Vomsteeg. Strong closing kick to the half, this looks like, for Loudoun. Zach Ryan, Kawanda, taken away. Cole Turner wins it back. Malloy takes him out, and a yellow coming for Malloy.
Not too happy between Aaron Malloy and Rodrigo da Costa as well. Aaron Malloy wanted him to push this forward, and instead, Rodrigo da Costa doesn't have the same idea. He wanted that ball knocked up to the side. He had the overlapping run coming, and instead, as he holds this, it collapses. These are some of the things that we talk about where you get out of your own way. If you release it, that allows you to reset yourself defensively. You set your shape and you get up high. You lose the ball, everything condenses, and they're real lucky that it doesn't get past Malloy.
And not only that, these are the stretches you were mentioning from Memphis where it's just stretches of 5 to 10 minutes rather, where it just goes away.
They're not even on the field.
And that's when they're punished.
Yeah, exactly. Just decision-making overall subsides. Confidence when you're on it is another thing, but a lot of this just has to be quicker. You know, that ball by da Costa could have been sprayed to the outside. He could have knocked it himself as well and just chased. When you come down, take one touch, play it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a second or a third or a fourth. Working it around the back line. If it's Turchi, if it's Vomsteeg, positionally set yourself up so as the ball's coming to you, you at least give yourself the opportunity to play it first time. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to, but always grabbing something and then setting your standing foot up to then push it forward has got to be removed from the argument on a more regular basis.
Fernando settles, overlap from Buckmaster, and foul is called against Rocha. He disagreed vehemently. Final minute of this first half. It's Loudoun now out shooting Memphis 4-2, but still neither side has tested either goalkeeper. On a morning where we felt both goalkeepers should be tested often because they have lackluster track records this year, both with save percentages below 50%. Second choice goalkeepers for both of these teams today have been untested. Now Malloy drives one in, Farrow fumbles it. And he gathers it in the end.
They're very fortunate on the backside of things that you don't have a secondary runner here if you're Loudoun United. Hugo Farrow got to be better in those situations. Good that he's able to collect on the back end of it, but as dangerous as the ball was, just that gray area of 6 to 8 yards out. Almost spills it in. Good opportunity for the visitors. Nice resurgence here for Loudoun United. I do certainly like what Tommy Williamson has brought to this match. Rumor as to whether or not his overall availability would be questioned coming in. He's done a good job of finding that striking partnership with Zach Ryan, albeit from a deeper line position. I mean, that's another thing. We talked about figuring out things for Ryan Martin, Tommy Williamson, and all of the positions that he played under Bob Lilly last year. Pittsburgh Riverhounds plays mind games with you.
Hanging up there for an eternity, this free kick. 3 minutes of stoppage time brought to you by Novak, delivering power you can count on. Williamson on this right flank. Get past Ward. So it's back for Learman. Hugo Farrow. Thirteenth start of the year for Hugo Farrow. And a foul goes against Loudoun. Ryan seemed to be the one who got the worst of this challenge. And he's the one called for it. Only 14 combined touches between these teams inside of either 18-yard box. Neither with a shot on target. Not much in terms of offense in this game so far. On a day where you'd root for and hope the opposite. Camp day, a lot of kids from the area in attendance. On a day where Ryan Martin wanted his side to do the first cool thing of the match, as he put it, to get the kids on their side. And there's a whistle to end half number one. Not one to really remember for either side. A lot to work out in the locker rooms.
But it was a good movement by Loudoun United on that right to get them back into this game. You're seeing more out of Zach Ryan, the overall balance within the midfield. Tommy Williamson, it takes the pressure off a back line that has been conceding left and right. And if you're Stephen Glass at 901 FC, you've got to find a way to get this left flank going. You don't want to put it on one player, but if you can hold the ball in the back line, if you can find Malloy in the midfield, you've got to find a way to then create that balance on the left, because much too much of this play has gone through Luis Fernando and the central locations.
0-0 through 45 here at Seger Field. These kids are hoping for more to cheer for in half number two. There was a flurry of opportunities early from either side, and it just went into a bit of a mid-morning nap from both of them. More to come in just a few moments from Leesburg, Virginia.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
You need on-the-go convenience. Novex Smart Hub delivers. Pay your electric bills, view your energy use, report an outage, and receive alerts regarding your account. With Smart Hub, use your credit card with no processing fees. Level out your monthly electric bills by enrolling in budget billing through Smart Hub. Easily access it through Novex mobile app or at novec.com. You're on the go. Novex Smart Hub goes with you.
Welcome back to Camp Day at Segra Field here in Leesburg, Virginia. Scoreless through 45 between Loudoun and Memphis. Now, Saturday, August 19th, is United against Cancer United at Segra Field. Cheer on the team as they take on Sacramento Republic FC starting at 7:15 p.m. We're joining forces with iNova, Stepsisters, and Prep for Gold as we look to support those affected by cancer and their loved ones. A silent auction for player-worn warm-ups will take place during the match. Proceeds will benefit local cancer organizations, and tickets are available now at LoudounUnitedFC.com. Looking at the upcoming stretch of games for Loudoun, wrapped around that home game against Sacramento. It's a difficult West Coast swing on the road against San Diego and Vegas back-to-back. Vegas on paper is a team you could pick up points against, dead last by a far distance in the Western Conference, but San Diego, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. And you had that tough home game against Sacramento. Two more difficult ones in the East against Pittsburgh and Indy. But you circle that Indy game. That's the team right now in the 8th seed in the East that Loudoun is chasing. That feels like one they will have to have if they're going to make any sort of legitimate playoff push here. And on the other side for Memphis 901, a team winless in its last 6, sinking a bit in the Eastern Conference. It's not any easier. 4 of the next 5 on the road, and 3 of those 4 against playoff teams at the moment. A home game in there against Indy. 2 of the next 3, interestingly, against Indy with a week off in between. But again, 2 very daunting asks on the road against San Diego and Charleston. Winless in 6, can they recapture the form that had them unbeaten for double-digit games in the middle portion of this first half of the year? Only time will tell. Maybe here in half number 2, Memphis can recapture some of that success. For now, it's scoreless, and not much has happened through half number 1. In just a moment, we take a broader look around USL Championship with some news and notes.
We understand an upside-down world, but they're writing us off before we get to the starting line. A stalled generation? Who do you think is gonna fix all this? We will, because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny.
Are you ready? Ready for more of the game you love? Ready for more players and more teams? Ready for more stadiums, for more fans in more cities? This is a different league. The USL Super League. Built for the future of women's soccer, bridging the journey from youth to pro, connected to the global game, and bringing it all closer to home. Are you ready?
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Little rest of the voices and the vocal cords for these kids who have been screaming nonstop since the beginning, hoping to scream for a goal or something here in half number 2. First, we take a step away and look at some notes and some news from around the USL Championship. It's hard to believe that we are already now officially in August. You got the Summer Showcase coming up next week in Colorado Springs. You've got a San Antonio side that is clicking on all cylinders. Tony Luisei, Player of the Week. And San Diego, unbeaten in 4 coming up at home. They held their own in the first half against Borussia Dortmund. That's a team to watch out for climbing the ranks right now in the West.
I'm just watching San Antonio FC, though, right now with Tani Oluwaseyi, who recorded his 3rd hat trick this season. He ties the single-season record set by Matt Fonde in 2015. He's currently on pace with 13 goals in 12 games at more than 1 goal per game. Only a single player in USL Championship history has ever managed such a feat. Any guesses?
I don't.
Dom Dwyer, Orlando City, correct. Keep going.
I would have actually said Chandler Hoffman. That would have been my guy.
Yeah.
But no, all right.
Good for you.
0 for 1. We'll take a look at the scores from the weekend. A busy weekend it was in USL Championship. A couple that stuck out. It's not really much of a rivalry anymore between Louisville and Indy. When was the last time Indy produced a big result there? Louisville gets back on track, and San Antonio just keeps their scoring ways going with 5.
The ridiculous weekend that was the week prior that saw 7 upsets in 10 games. We saw a little bit more chalk, didn't we? That Oakland-Detroit game, by the way, who knew that you could get so much action in 10 minutes and then nothing for the entirety of the 80?
Opposite of this game so far.
100%.
Upcoming schedule here this week. Standalone game today at 11 a.m. for you. Got some on Friday to pick up the action, but Colorado Springs and Birmingham is a really interesting one between two teams who probably hoped they'd be title contenders coming into the year, bottom half of their respective playoff standings, but always lurking. I'm looking at that one on Friday.
Birmingham had that Open Cup issue where you're trying to make sure that you create balance within all your performances. They admitted that they were going after the Open Cup. Didn't work their way, although the referee didn't do them any favors. Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC is an interesting one too. At the highest of highs, that team could win the entirety of the league. If they don't show up, if there was relegation, which if you believe the rumors, they'd be dropping down to League One.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tampa Bay Rowdies, and a near top of the table clash as well. That's a very interesting clash of head coaches. Bob Lilly, a long-term legend, Nicky Law, game number 2 of his head coaching career for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. So we're moments away from the resumption of this one between Loudoun and Memphis. Scoreless through 45. What does the second half have in store? Can't have much less than the first half. A very defense first half between Loudoun and Memphis. More to come from Segra Field.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
Welcome back here to Segra Field. Scoreless between Loudoun and Memphis as we show you highlights from half number one. And it's really highlight singular. There was only one real moment that either side really threatened in that first half. It came in the 8th minute. We'll show you it 3 times because there wasn't much else to show you from that first half.
You're so proud of that low-lying fruit on the high light. I figured the dad jokes you were throwing at me this morning might as well be reciprocated on air for our friends. And look, and this is the chance that I talked about where if you get an opportunity for Luis Fernando to go one-on-one with someone, he's so good at getting you to square up and really decide which direction he wants to go. And this time, you get Aiden Rocha who comes flat-footed. It's the cut back in. Good recognition by Jeremy Kelly to get high. But that's really all you got. Again, a lot of this came through the middle, deep lying. Aaron Malloy, Leston Paul, they inverted on the left. They never took advantage of the space that was over there. I will have to say, though, that you have to tip the cap to guys like Jace Clark. Previously, it was Abdul Zane, Tommy Williamson in the argument now as well. For on the right flank for Loudoun, they weren't willing to be pushed around. They pushed really high and just kind of held their form right there. They're winning the battles in the midfield. The momentum at the tail end of the first half, certainly in their favor. We saw Zach Ryan getting involved, Jeremy Garay getting a little bit higher. None of which, though, between the two squads, produced for any sort of dramatics 18 yards and in.
Maybe they're saving it all for half number 2. That's what these kids are hoping. You ever have a summer camp like this where you went on a field trip of this sort?
Absolutely. I'm still on it.
It was always bowling or the movies for me when in my summer camp days.
You seem more of an indoors type of guy.
Well, I was only given those 2 options. I would have chosen outdoors if I could.
Got it.
Beautiful day, too. Mid-70s here in Leesburg. We'll get hotter later in the day. That's the night cruise problem. We're underway in half number 2. From right to left, Loudoun. From left to right, Memphis. Scoreless through 45. With former German pro Devin Kerr, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us this afternoon now here on ESPN+. Had a late breakfast or brunch with us earlier. Now settling down for lunchtime. And just to clear that up, anything before 10 is a breakfast. Between 10 and noon is a brunch. Noon onward is a lunch.
You can't convince me that if I'm walking into a restaurant and I've already had breakfast at 11:30 that you're calling that something other than lunch.
Hey, end line looking for a quick start to the second half. It's cleared away. From distance, Zane blocked. Shouted for a handball briefly. Falling for Williamson on the turn. Williamson comes back for Abdul Kawanda. This is much better to begin this second half from Loudoun.
Well, we mentioned second balls in the midfield, certainly Kawanda, but more importantly, having multiple attackers higher up on the pitch, and that's what Abdul Kawanda gives you. In the absence of a running mate for Zach Ryan up top in the 9 spot, he has to operate on his own. You've got to give him support. So it's Tommy Williamson, it's Zane, it's Kawanda, it's Jeremy Gray. That is a much better look overall for this Loudoun team on the influx of players moving into the final third.
Short from the corner. Now for Zane, lets it fly and puts it wide.
That's clever, and you give yourself options here if you're Aiden Rocha. He's one-on-one with Aaron Malloy, recognizes that Malloy's not willing to take the bait. Well done defensively to hold this and push it back. But with the support that you have, all you've really got is the 2 men who have to rotate out. So Jeremy Kelly's stuck between 3 separate players, Zane being on the tail end of this. Good little square ball back to the interior, touch out front, trying to pick out glory inside the far post.
Doesn't have a goal yet this season, only had 2 last year. Not a noted goal scorer. Abdul Zane, 20-year-old from Ivory Coast. Zane again, working past Reese Buckmaster, and Zane commits the foul. Whatever Ryan Martin said at halftime, good early returns for Loudoun. Chip toward Luis Fernando, and Hugo Farreau off his line, confidently to clear. Learman. Williamson for Ryan. These two have formed a really good partnership this year. Pressure from Zane. Back for Romig. Looks like he caught Vom Steeg by surprise. Feels like one of those days where you're not going to get a quote-unquote normal goal. It's either going to be a calamitous error at the back from one of these teams or something special.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Nothing in between. Kawanda. I'm just curious how many shots we can get before the first shot on target. We're up to 9 now. 7 for Loudoun, 2 for Memphis, none on target. Learman feeds it wide for Williamson. Overlap comes from Clark. Williamson in, and cleared by Vom Steeg. Bryce Washington turns around and plays it for Farreau. Rio DaCosta has largely been kept in check in this game. Count on one hand the amount of times he's touched the ball in the attacking third. 5 goals, 3 assists since joining Memphis from Tulsa. Not often that swaps like that work out for both teams. I'd say it's maybe worked out a little bit more for Tulsa so far with the nature of the goals Goodrum has scored, as far as when they've happened, what they've meant to certain results. But 5 goals, 3 assists here for DaCosta. Handful of goals for Goodrum. Both teams have been in good form until this late dip from Memphis. It has worked out both ways.
The balance of it overall reminds me of, let's be clear, not only a trade working out for both teams, but in the same conference as well. You're not going east and west. It reminds me of the Antoine Opino, Lucky M. Kasana move between Louisville City and the Tampa Bay Rowdies a couple of seasons ago. Lucky with Louisville, Antoine with Tampa Bay Rowdies just didn't really mesh with the overall flow, and that the switch, legends for both teams. Lucky's still with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Antoine, of course, applying his trade elsewhere. Off to Detroit City, and then entering a little bit further now, we'll say.
Lucky came back to hurt Louisville a couple seasons ago. 2021 Eastern Conference Final. Scored twice late on, rescuing Tampa Bay and sending them to the final before they lost to Orange County. Another resurgent team all of a sudden in Orange County. Jace Clark just went down for Loudoun. Memphis felt the sting of Orange County a couple of matches ago. 4-3 they felt. Orange County had been as deep as 11th, only ahead of Vegas for quite some time. Now they're in 6th in the Western Conference. Clark just went down on his own away from the ball. Already used one sub today. First half, Jake Morris came out for Tommy Williamson. I hope it's just a cramp. Walking gingerly off the field with the help of the trainer. Will carry on down a man for now. No indication of any sub coming yet for Loudoun, but now somebody was called over from the warm-up area. So maybe that is it for Jace Clark. Coa Santos is getting ready to take his place.
How's it for Ryan Martin coming in with a team that was already pretty thin? We mentioned that Tommy Williamson picked up a knock and wasn't necessarily sure what his availability was going to be. Well, you have to use him as a first half sub. Another man who was in that conversation was Coa Santos, who they were trying to give him some rest, but with the injury, just hoping it's precautionary for Jace Clark to come off. I've got to push that envelope a little bit more for Coa Santos.
Substitution brought to you by Segra. Coa Santos, 22 starts on the year. This is his first time coming off the bench for Loudoun. Ryan Martin really loves the service that Santos provides up and down that right flank. And now, prior to Jake Morris leaving this match with an injury as well, part of the reason they acquired Morris is because they wanted that 1-2 punch of Morris being able to supply the service up and down the left side with Santos on the right. So they weren't necessarily right side or left side heavy anymore, and teams had to focus on both. Santos will set up this free kick. Ten minutes into the second half. Santos toward the penalty spot, and Malloy knocks it away. Here's Kelly, waiting for some support. Thing to remember now for Loudoun, if Ryan Martin wants to make any more changes, he's going to have to be very smart about it, because he only has one more substitution window. Still 3 subs at his disposal, but if he wants to use all 3 of them today, he's going to have to do them all at once now. Memphis, on the other hand, hasn't used one yet. Deep bench they have today. A couple of guys who can really impact this game. Ron Casiedu, Bruno Lapa, Emerson Hindman stand out above the rest. Has options off the bench for Memphis. And a free kick on the way for 901. Yellow card to boot.
Just a little bit slow into the challenge, unfortunately, in terms of the thought process that should have been exhibited here by Naden Rocha. And he recognizes the fact that he's got a 2v1 opportunity, but that's the thing, it's an opportunity. You just stand him up. No reason to step in, and give credit here to Leston Paul, who sees the pressure coming over the right shoulder, just steps right into the path of the defender. You look at a guy who leads the USL Championship in chances created. Aaron Malloy with 5 assists to his name. 4 have come from dead ball situations.
51 chances created in only 19 games. Can this be the spark Memphis needs? Malloy drives it to the backside. What a hit that was, but wide. And it did take a deflection.
Almost answered the call for the highlight reel. Sports Center comes calling real quick if you're Aaron Malloy and Jeremy Kelly on that one.
Maybe try it again from the corner. Oh, this time Malloy knotted down and saved by Farrow. Lumsteeg got his head to it. That is something to remember. 57th minute. First shot on target of the match for either side.
If that's what we're going to call it, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, it's a really good ball by Aaron Malloy, who sticks this right at the top of the 6. The amount of pace that he's able to get while also complementing it with whip to move away from the goalkeeper. Expected the contact point overall to be a bit better, to be fair.
Santos in a bad shape to that ball. Ryan close to it. Romig ends up with it. USL's second annual summer showcase signals the start of the sprint to the finish. Philip Goodrum and FC Tulsa head west to face Romario Williams and Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC. FC Tulsa Switchbacks FC Wednesday, August 9th at 9 Eastern on ESPN2. Started packing yet for Colorado Springs? You excited?
I'm trying to figure out what's for lunch. That's where my life's at right now. One foot in front of the other is probably the most kind way that I can put my current schedule.
Dennis Learman, Rakoa Santos, you can already see since he's come on Santos how many times the ball has found him on the right side. They love to play through him, orchestrating this attack. Here he is again, Santos. Malloy intercepts right back where it came from. Rakoa Santos towards Zane. Will keep it in. Abdul Zane. Zane cleared back toward goal by Kelly. Finally cleared away. Garay. Ryan couldn't do anything with it. The ball found him. Aaron Malloy. Out wide for Akeem Ward. Bounced around a bit these last couple of seasons, Ward, but been a fixture in the lineup anywhere he's been. Oakland 2 years ago, RGV last year, Memphis this year.
There's not many people, although that list is growing over the years, that can say that they've experienced 100 regular season appearances, and that's exactly what is taking place today for Akeem Ward, to your point.
Buckmaster. Malloy spins out of trouble. Leston Paul. Up and down first start of the season for Leston Paul. Had some nice moments, had some careless giveaways, committed a couple of foolish fouls. We played an hour. We're still scoreless here at Segra Field between Loudoun and Memphis. One shot on target belongs to Memphis. Williamson driving to the end line. And that ball stayed in. Some way, somehow. Zach Ryan couldn't get there in time to do anything with it. DaCosta. Body language between Pickering and DaCosta after that mishap said it all. It's a frustrating morning into afternoon for both of these teams. Less than a half an hour remains with Devin Kerr and Joe Malfa. Only match of the day here in USL Championship before the action picks up again on Friday. Special edition morning kickoff here for Camp Day. Luis Fernando. How about this turn from DaCosta? Tried to snake it back through for Fernando. And cleared. DaCosta. A little cleanly by Turner. Pickering. Kelly looking for DaCosta. Change is being ready now from Memphis. Switched out to Abdul Zane. Aiden Rocha's there for support. Zane continues his run. Emerson Hindman being ready for Memphis. Play continues. Fernando and Kelly were arguing with the referee, and Zane just gave it away. Goes down to a knee as well. They already used 2 subs because of injury today. Can't afford to use a third. Switched into space for Kelly, who brings it down. Poor second touch. Feeds it back across. Still loose right now. DaCosta trying to find a way, and it's cleared. And that opportunity, half-hearted opportunity for Kelly, is his last involvement as Hindman takes his place.
There's a ton that could have gone wrong and certainly did for both of these teams. The run by Aiden Rocha. Challenge more to the outside. Zane then has the luxury of cutting in himself, playing it down into the channel, or then finding the back post run to Zach Ryan. But after the turnover on the secondary effort, now you've opened yourself up. That's more of what we saw in the first half, to be fair, for Loudoun United, challenging the space given up by 901 FC. But with the departing of the aforementioned Jeremy Kelly, poor first touch, secondary one not so great. The run's not where it's supposed to be. Instead, you pick out the worst option on a ball drifting all the way to the backside. The fluid motions that were early on this season for 901 FC started slowly, but more recently, rapidly escaping the thought process.
Don't let 0-0 with 1 shot on goal in 64 minutes get in the way of a good time. These camp kids are having quite the morning and afternoon here at Segra Field.
I would love to be with them.
Should have abandoned me like that?
Oh, man. Just screaming, yelling. I mean, I do it anyway, but I wouldn't be judged as much, right? There we go.
Color coordination,
look
too.
At the jerseys.
You got some neon green, neon orange, all spread out together.
Wearing the flats and the socks to the game, classic move.
Nothing screams I'm a soccer player more than that.
Well, I had this conversation with another USL Championship analyst, Ricky Lopez-Essen, recently. We were admiring the wardrobe choices on our end and the fact that we had some very uniquely colored gazelles made by Adidas. And he said, man, do you remember the good old days? I said, yeah, where I wore gazelle shoes, Umbro shorts, Nike shirts to school every single day. No judgment passed, none required.
And you probably never thought twice about it.
Just snacks given. No, it was delightful. Big ice pop guy.
Fernando cutting inside onto his left foot. Fernando, it's blocked. Rebound skied by Malloy. They'll retrieve that from the next county over.
Once again, fans, last call for alcohol
mentioned positionally, just making sure that if you're 901 FC, once you do get into the box, that you're actually giving yourself the opportunity to have options. And although this comes on the back end of a great move from Luis Fernando, again, similar to what you saw in the first half, except that time he laid it off. This go around, keeps it to himself, off the deflection. 121 appearances in in his professional career for Aaron Malloy. Only 17 goals to his name. Nobody said he was lighting it up statistically. He's more of a facilitator.
They just announced last call for alcohol on the PA. I'm gonna venture a guess on Camp Kid Day. Sales were at an all-time low today.
Yeah, let's relax. Also, if it's last call, when was first call?
11 a.m. kickoff. Did they have
12:30.
mimosas?
I mean, dear Lord.
Did they have mimosas in the concession stand today is my question. Buckmaster, Luis Fernando. Trying to split the difference between Zane and Rocha. He draws the free kick, and remember, Rocha's on a yellow card. Zane was more of the aggressor in that challenge and picks up a yellow for it. Well, both of those guys, Zane and Rocha, on yellows. I got it right. It was certainly Zane who did more of the work.
The yellow card is issued in the 67th minute. Loudoun United's number 7.
Back to your point about Aaron Malloy, just every single level he's been at, he's won an award or been recognized for his play. Big Ten Player of the Year, collegiately at Penn State, drafted 16th overall by Portland. Then he was USL League One, All-League first team in 2021. He was All-League and USL Championship. Just every step of the way. It's either All Big Ten, All-League, Midfielder of the Year, you name it, he's done it. The lone year he didn't receive any recognition in the last 4 years was the 2020 pandemic-shortened season when he was with Timbers 2. And a lean season for them. Malloy, good delivery here. The header glances just wide. Their best opportunities have been coming on Malloy dead ball situations. And Turchi nearly had this one.
Something to think about with Aaron Malloy, and we talked about his 5 assists, 4 coming from similar fashion, where just so good about allowing others around them to go up and make a play. Leads the USL Championship. You talked about it, I talked about it. 51 chances created. Now, what is a chance created? Well, OptUp, which is the statistical machine, we should call it, much like the great man known as Nicholas Murray, front office of USL Championship, defines that as a final pass to the recipient of the ball having an attempt without necessarily scoring.
Maybe a chance created here for Abdul Zane. No.
51. And then you look at the output of assists that he's got. So 51 separate times he's put his players in an opportunity to go and make waves on the other end. Only 5 have ended up in the back of the net. Let's just say that numbers-wise, you'd like that margin to be a little bit closer.
Can't be greedy on the one hand because it is the team with the second most goals in USL Championship, but it just goes to show you how much better they could be than they are. Abdul Kawanda will pick up this yellow.
Maybe second most goals. They've also conceded the 4th most.
Therein lies the issue.
So you either have to get better on the defensive front or be more efficient in the final third.
Although, to be fair, it's a lot of what have you done for me lately in that regard.
Yeah.
6-0 against Phoenix, 4-0 San Antonio, and then 4 goals each in the last 2 games as well. Abdul squared off the field. Kawanda, Zane off. Khalil El-Medkar and Wesley Leggett will take their respective spots. Subs brought to you by Segra. And remember, that's it for substitutions for Loudoun today. 1 will go unused. They used 4 of their 5, but all 3 windows have now been wasted. Wesley Leggett has been the go-to guy off the bench this year for Loudoun. This is his 24th appearance. Only 6 of those starts. entered the draft, undrafted, signed in January. He's carved out a role for himself with his speed off the bench. Well, Medcar tries to latch onto it. Look out. Camp counselor has to give a little hug there. That one stung. Quickly taken from the throw-in. El Medcar, edge of the area of the turn from Williamson, never had it clean. Ryan Martin was worried that if Memphis came in and did something positive early, the kids might have turned and just, been front runners like kids maybe tend to be. That's not the case. You hear the Let's Go Loudoun chants here, going strong in minute 72. They got the memo, they know who to root for, and they're having a good time. Can they be rewarded with 3 points and a goal? Buckmaster. DaCosta. And Malloy lost it. Both of these teams with 7 shots each. Only one on target that belongs to Memphis. But here's Leggett in some space. Working end line, Wesley Leggett. There's nobody there as he puts it through the 6. Kept alive. Centered again, almost for Garay, but in the hands of Romig.
Same type of argument with Wesley Leggett up high now, right? Zach Bryan has come a little bit deeper. Still no options as they move forward. This will be a fun one for them, though, with Ryan operating underneath. Flatten out the overall shape a little bit. Now Medcar gets the luxury of kind of pushing themselves out. All of a sudden, Cole Turner, Jamie Gray are in a situation where they can operate more in a side-by-side fashion. Turner will still come underneath to give depth, but that allows you the pivot point to play off of. Ryan now becomes a false 9, and Leggett's going to stretch it with his fresh legs and his speed. But Ryan, he does so well to really create that 1-2 punch when he has someone to work with. Hasn't had that the entirety of this game.
One of the areas Ryan Martin wanted to see this team improve was in their own box defensively. Over these last 4 games, 3 losses, 1 draw. They felt they should have had 3 wins in that span. But some naivete in their own box defensively cost them. Cole Turner! Not much is going your way. See if you can pull off the spectacular. They didn't miss it by much. When not much is going your way, you also got to try to find a way to make things happen. They haven't found their avenues through to the box.
Especially when the shape that I just talked about. Normally, he's just kind of pushing this side to side, seeing if you can get some help from an overlapping run or link up with guys like Zach Ryan. But if Leston Paul, Rodrigo DaCosta aren't willing to challenge that space, take it for yourself.
Each of these last couple of games for Loudoun against Miami, Orange County, Detroit, Louisville. Again, losing 3, drawing 1. Felt they could have had an extra 8 points on their ledger. Ryan Martin felt they were clearly the better team who should have won in 3 of those 4. And that would put them, or would have, I should say, put them at 29 points, tied with Birmingham Legion. So while it's encouraging that they've been playing better, it's frustrating that those points were left on the table. Maybe 3 that can be snatched here from this one still. Through the wickets from Turner. Malloy trying to track back. Knocks it away. Malloy was on a yellow, so he couldn't do anything rash after a little nutmeg. Back the other way, Malloy. DaCosta, Fernando. Malloy floats it. Farrow grabs it. Dylan Borzak, the next sub being ready for Memphis. Still only used 1 so far in this game. Emerson Hindman come on for Jeremy Kelly. Hindman. Wide for Pickering. Pickering attacks Santos. Santos gets the better of the 18-year-old. Wasn't sure if that was going to be a corner or a goal kick, so he rescued it just in case. Now Medkar turns Buckmaster. The vision was there, looking for Leggett. Execution wasn't. Opening up a bit now from one end to the other. Hindman for Pickering. Look over the shoulder from Malloy. Sees a lot of space and hits the diagonal. Luis Fernando. Brazilian goes back for Buckmaster. Fernando on his left foot, cutting in. Won by Hindman. Malloy gave it away, but it bounces back through. And his shot looked like it was deflected off Giannis Learman. It was. Another corner, another chance from Malloy to impact this game from a dead ball situation. Their third corner on the way. And Pickering comes off for Laurent Cassiedu. And Rodrigo da Costa comes off for Dylan Borzak.
About a 100% push Emerson Hindman into the 10 spot. Again, that left-sided pivot that they were working off of each other, whether it was Knight Pickering or Jeremy Kelly, and most recently Emerson Hindman, they just haven't found the same sort of width necessary in order to break this Loudoun United team down. Fresh legs up top in the 9.
Malloy curls it top of the 6. The header's just wide. Carson Vomsteek for the second time had a chance in this game with his head. Last time got it on target. An easy save it was for Hugo Farreau. This one went wide. That'll take us into a hydration break here with a dozen minutes remaining. Vomsteek against his former team. Twice he's come close from set pieces. 21 starts he made for Loudoun last year. Shots now between these two teams. Only one of the 17 on target. What is it going to take for a breakthrough? Is it a mistake defensively from one side? Is it a brilliant moment from the other? It's happy vibes all around from the crowd. We know that much at least. Kids very easily entertained, celebrating their time here as if it was 5-5 instead of 0-0. Still showing the support of Loudoun. It's a great opportunity for kids like this in the area to be able to, in the community, come out to a game like this, see it up close. Saw the likes of Abdul Zaneh and Jeremy Garay greeting some of the kids as they walked off the field at halftime. Two guys who are maybe not much older than some of the kids in the crowd.
Same goes for you, right?
A little older, little older. Had a game the other night where a 16-year-old scored, and it dawned on me they were born in 2007. And I didn't like that very much.
Welcome to my world.
10 minutes to play here between Loudoun and Memphis. Big 3 points possibly hanging in the balance if either side is able to snatch it. Loudoun sitting 4 points beneath the playoff line in the East. Memphis just 1 point behind Louisville for the last of the 4 home playoff games. Top 4 teams will host in the first round. It's a coveted spot to be in. You know, Memphis has loftier aspirations than even that. The success they've had this season, having hit a dip in the form lately. It falls for Cassiedu! And it's shanked wide.
On the little turnover right around the midfield, good vision to immediately pump this thing up onto the front line because of how high it was defensively for Loudoun United. Notice Aaron Malloy the entire time. The second he takes that first touch, even before, he's got his head up. He gets it to Laurent Kissiedu, but the problem is the touch isn't that great. He gets it on the inside and wants this to come across his body. But even then, you got to do better. You've got to find a way to put that on frame. No excuses.
4 goals on the year for Kissiedu, had 7 last season. Maybe he didn't get a lot of attention the last couple of years behind Kyle Murphy a couple of seasons ago, Philip Goodrum last year. One of the driving forces in the midfield of this Memphis attack. Kissiedu now coming back the other way. It is a goal kick. Loudoun felt that would be taken into the corner. Wesley Leggett after driving in line. Just given the road ahead for both of these teams schedule-wise. Look, you want to win anyway. Doesn't matter what's ahead of you, what's behind you, but especially with the roads ahead, the road games they have to face, the opponents they have to face. You got 8 minutes plus stoppage time sitting in front of you for a game that's ripe for the picking. After this, road games against Indy and San Diego for Memphis. Then they come home briefly against Indy before going right back on the road to Charleston and Detroit. Spot an easy victory in that upcoming slate. On the other side for Loudoun, after tonight, there really aren't any layups around the league this year in any capacity. You could say one of those is maybe Vegas, but always tough to go on the road. And Vegas and San Diego on the road before coming back home against the first place Sacramento Republic. Here's Rocha. Santos splits through. Santos had it blocked. Cole Turner has quietly had a strong game in the midfield. Alfred Elmedkar, the substitute, serves it, taken down by Ryan. Zach Ryan looking back for Elmedkar, and a foul called against Loudoun.
Groundhog Day between the two teams. Zach Ryan, back heel was on. Unfortunately, the shout didn't come quick enough and had to get fancy to try and find a way to catch Reese Buckmaster in the wrong spot. Hard to get him ill-footed.
Rocha cornered. He clears it up the middle. Fortunately, Zach Ryan is there. And then possession easily given away by Loudoun. In the second half, Memphis has seen a lot more of the ball than they did in the first half. First 45 minutes saw a 55-45 possession advantage for Loudoun. And it shifted the other way in the second half, 55-45 Memphis. And some of the other stats bear that out as well. 8 shots to 4 in Memphis' favor. They've been the driving force offensively in this second half, but I use those terms loosely on a night where we have, or an afternoon I should say, where we have 1 combined shot on target. Hindman. Luis Fernando took a deflection on the cross. Kissiedu flicked it along. Five to play, plus stoppage time. Hakeem Ward takes down Zach Ryan. Could really come from anybody from Memphis. Well, Loudoun had the goal scoring concentrated to a few select players. Chief among them, Zach Ryan with 9. At least 6 goal scorers on the season for Loudoun, and one of those doesn't play here anymore. It's Panos Armanakis in Phoenix. So 5 goal scorers on their roster. Memphis with 14.
That ball's not out. That's beautiful work by Aaron Malloy.
Over the top for Borzak. Dylan Borzak to his left foot, leaves it behind for Luis Fernando. Plays it inside. Hyndman looked like he dummied it through, or he didn't feel like he had a chance to reach back and handle it. Ward. Kisiedu making things happen. Williamson. Garay. Well done again by Kisiedu. Looked like it was dummied through by Hyndman. Whatever shout came, maybe one he shouldn't have listened to. Could start the buses. 3 minutes of stoppage time remaining here on camp day.
You're assuming they were ever turned off?
The gas isn't cheap these days. I hope they turned it off. Turner.
What a ball. Oh, unlucky. Well read by Akeem Ward.
Emerson Hyndman, 4-on-3 here in favor of Memphis. And with the numbers advantage, Borzak managed to be offside. That is the last thing you could have happen in that situation. Numerical advantage in transition. Day where things haven't been too potent offensively. And you just mistime it. Offside. Buckmaster. Given some of the limitations roster-wise today, if this stays 0-0, I don't imagine Ryan Martin would be the most upset, but time wearing thin in their trek back toward the playoff line. This is one where he would have wanted 3, snap the winless run. And maybe still time for that. Leggett chasing, Morome clearing. Always feels like one side feels worse about a draw after it happens. I feel like that would be Memphis in this case if this turns out to be a 0-0. Winless in 6. On paper, should be a stronger team than Loudoun. A game that has been hanging in the balance, and they just haven't found the moment. Five more minutes to solve this Rubik's Cube. Stoppage time brought to you by Novak. Driving power you can count on.
5 minutes. Brought to you by Novak. Delivering power you can count on.
Bryce Washington. Back for Hugo Farrell. 0-0 is what these kids had in mind today. Cole Turner finds Aiden Rocha. Some numbers in the box for Loudoun. Rocha, nobody making that trailing run. And a couple in the box. Tommy Williamson predominantly just shouting for the ball at his feet.
Oh, Williamson wanted the ball at his feet, and Aiden Rocha felt like Zach Ryan had started to peel his run off. I was with him, although I thought Aiden Rocha had a real good look to cut this and hit it himself. With Buckmaster and his hips turned just a little bit, it takes a lot to pivot back open and attack to the inside. Aiden Rocha, a real good chance in either situation to pick his poison. And once again, we're left wanting for more.
Williamson, Zach Ryan, Ricoa Santos. Give it away carelessly. Luis Fernando now leading the charge for Memphis. Borzak ahead. Dylan Borzak shot blocked. Sometimes the storylines don't always go the way you think. Felt on this morning-afternoon kick between these teams. Both backup goalkeepers in. Both have struggled this season. The save percentage is below 50%. A dozen starts each. What do you think the name of the game would be? Get as many shots on target as possible. Test these goalkeepers out. Just one combined shot on target. Belongs to Memphis. It was a half-hearted header in the 57th minute. That was an easy grab for Hugo Farrell. Urgency from Loudoun. Rocha quickly takes the throw. It's given right back to Malloy. Williamson and Ward battling. Dennis Learman. Just over a minute remaining now. It's back to Farrell. Metcalf settled it for Leggett. Wesley Leggett driving ahead, taken down. Rocha pops it over the top, and it's out for a goal kick.
Sometimes the magic just isn't there, and that seems to be the case for both of these teams tonight. The cherry on top for Loudoun United. What an opportunity with all the space and players moving forward to not get anything of a semblance of a shot on goal. Right up through the middle. Aiden Rocha's got space. To be fair, the touch off of him at the end of it wasn't the poorest decision to begin with. Wesley Leggett couldn't pick his head up and find the run over the left shoulder.
Last chance, Malloy into the gut of Farrell. A glance at the watch from Thomas Snyder. And there's the final whistle. Loudoun 0, Memphis 0. The kids won. They had a good time despite the inactivity here at Segra Field on camp day. They'll share a point each. Maybe chalk it up to the awkward start time at 11, but neither of these teams really looked themselves today.
Well, just think about the overall level of creation that was lacking and didn't really provide for a lot of chances for guys like Drew Mromick and Hugo Farrell. to get their name into the spotlight. But the goalkeepers saving grace, 0-0. Both earn a shutout.
We'll take a look at the save of the game. Brought to you by Segra, and we mean singular. It was the only save of the game right here in the 57th minute from Hugo Farrell.
Magnificent ball whipped in by Aaron Malloy, and you've got your defender, Carson Vomsteek, who does everything right. It's the challenge to the near post. If anything, he's a little bit early, but he's able to establish position. Not enough force behind it. Hugo Farrell collects another shutout to his name.
The winless runs reach 5 for Loudoun and 7 for Memphis, but something to build on maybe after today's draw. We come back in just a moment to wrap it up from Segra Field. Today's post-game show is brought to you by Segra. It finished 0-0 between Loudoun and Memphis, a game where both teams would have loved the 3 points in their respective battles in the Eastern Conference standings, but they'll have to settle for the 1 each after a goalless draw. As we take a look back at today's highlights, of which, again, not too many to speak of offensively for either side. Go back to the 8th minute for the only real opportunity of the first half for Memphis.
The expected goals were exactly 1.0. Unfortunately, that's a combination between the two teams. If you look at the visitors, 0.74, 11 shots on the night, most of which were outside the top of the 18 because we only had one, as Joe mentioned, throughout the entirety of the 90 minutes. One of the creators, Luis Fernando, had the touch on the inside the first time. The second one, he tries to go it alone. The deflection, Aaron Malloy sends it into the rideshare lot. But his distributional capability on full display today, there's no doubt about that. He found Lucas Turchi, he found Carson Vomsteek twice, found a great ball up over the top to Laurent Kissiadou, but that touch right there, or lack thereof, and then to the back post, no good, no dice, no 3 points.
Full-time stats, 11 shots to 9 in Memphis' favor. So still 20 shots in the match, but it never really felt like either side was threatening to score today.
901 FC have failed to win in their last 7 games. That's their longest winless streak from October 6th of 2019 to July 6th of 2020. That was the inaugural year of which they were trying to find the true identity. For Loudoun United, listen, the good news is that you keep the shutout. The bad news is that you've failed to score in just under 30% of your games this year. Like, you've got to find a way to tickle the nylon regularly. They haven't done it. They are also winless in their last 5. Unfortunately for them, that streak replicated in April of this season.
Memphis turns around and visits Indy this weekend. Loudoun, a trip out to the West Coast to visit San Diego next Wednesday. That'll do it for us today from Segra Field. It's time for lunch and for a nap. For my broadcast partner, Devin Kerr, and the crew that makes this possible, I'm Joe Malva saying enjoy the rest of your day from Leesburg, Virginia, where Loudoun and Memphis split a point each in a goalless draw.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.